So, for the single family homes in 2025, I think the most important factor to note is that we are still in a buyer's market. We did see a slight price increase, the median price increase from about 1.7%, but I'll get to that later because there are some factors that could have skewed that stat a little bit. But what's important to note is that number of sales, we had about 200 more sales this year than last year, and about the same number of listings, but we are still under 40% of houses that are listed that are being sold, which puts us still in a buyer's market. And what happens with a buyer's market is that we have a lot of inventory. You can see we have anywhere between 11 to 9 months of inventory at any given time, and that gives buyers more choices, which puts a little bit of a downward pressure on prices. Also, we have had a lot of expired listings, especially in the last few months of 2025, as you can see, which was not something that was happening so much during the COVID years, right? So that also might be explained by the fact that sellers are pricing houses a little bit over what buyers are willing to pay for that particular property. And so listings are staying on the market longer and expiring. You can also see this by the sold price to original price ratio, and also the sold price to list price ratio. So the difference here is that some properties go on the market and will be relisted, or it is very common to see price reductions nowadays. So the original price ratio, it is about 1% lower than the list price to the sold price ratio, which means that by the time that the listing does sell, that list price usually has been reduced through price reductions by about 1%. Our sold median price, like I said earlier, did go up by about 1.7%, but there were months this year where we had some record-breaking sales in the market. I think we had one $17 million residential sale in Kelowna this year, which does, although we use the median, it still does skew the median price a little bit. But all in all, it stayed pretty flat. And another stat that is important is the days to sell. You can see days to sell in the past 2 years has stayed around, 70, 60, going a little bit up, a little bit down, but we're around that 2.5 month mark for days to sell average once it is relisted at the new price. So what that means is that this year, the most important factor if you're a seller will be to list your price, your property at the right price from the start. You do not want to overlist and stay on the market and then have to do multiple price reductions because that takes away from the original listings. And as a buyer, when you see a property that stays on the market for a long time, you start wondering what's wrong with it, or you're going to come in a little bit lower when you put in an offer. And as a buyer, what this means for you is that you have more time. It's a buyer's balanced market, which means the buyers, there's inventory, you have choices, there's listings coming up all the time, and you can usually sleep on it for most properties. Now, there is still that property that will go into a multiple, but we're seeing it less and less in the market today. And this is a big picture of what happened in 2025. If you want more specific information, please feel free to reach out.